Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and I hope you're doing well. So I am back with another revision video and yeah, I really hope it helps. And in today's video I wanted to talk about how to use flashcards effectively, because I feel like at some point everyone will use flashcards but they won't find it useful, and near the end of my revision I found it really useful, and after a whole 3-4 years of realizing how to make them effectively. So yeah, I really wanted to share my tips and tricks and I hope you enjoy. So my first tip to using flashcards is actually don't overuse them. And I think this is actually a really true thing, where when I started GCSEs and year 12, I made flashcards for everything and they were so detailed to the point where I never went over them, and it was like too much. It was full of writing and it didn't have any like keywords. It was just like basically an essay and it was just like pointless, and I didn't really retain anything. I didn't go over it. So don't overuse them. And these are literally 2 years of flashcards into what, like that, like 20-30 for economics, because I only wanted the key points that I forget that I needed to go over, or like any key theories that I feel like I need to memorize, or definitions or formulas or graphs. The second tip is, I'm going to forget the number of tips, I'll write them out, is actually writing them yourself. Like, I know online that there'll be flashcards available for you to buy, like that are free to download, but making them yourself is the way to go, because when you actually write it out yourself, you will remember it and you'll be able to go back to it, and it will just be so much better. Because if you end up copying or like just printing them out, it will help you short term, but at the end of the day, with GCSEs and A-levels being like linear, you have to remember it for a long period of time. So definitely do them yourself. Like, it will seem like a pain, but honestly, like at the end you'll be so thankful for it. My next tip is how to know what to put on there. So here are literally 2 examples in front. So for economics, I used it to remember formulas that I struggled with. Not every single formula, because there were quite a few, and same for biology. I just did the ones that I really forget. So something that I forget is the cross price elasticity of demand, and I wrote out the formula at the top and literally in big writing, so it's easier to test myself, which is another point that I want to talk about, and like 2 or 3 things that might help me like understand what it means. So this was a bit complicated, where like a certain value would mean a certain thing, and I just literally wrote out what the 3 things would mean, like the values and like the actual value, like 0 to 1, and what it meant. And similarly, I would write out the diagram upside down, but I drew diagrams and I literally just said what the diagram is. So perfect competition, the diagram, and that is it. Like, no writing or explanation. Like, yes, if you needed a few keywords, that is it, but I also shortened it. You'll end up having like simplified like symbols or something in your subjects, possibly, like we did for econ. I would write out what the 3 things would mean and what the graph shows, and whether or not it shows or suggests or justifies like a point. And by it meaning a tick, I already quickly knew like kind of what it meant, and that way it just reduces the words. That's the main thing, like reduce and simplify all the content that is in your big textbook into like a simple kind of flashcard, and you won't need to write everything as well. Another thing that I did on here as well was prepping exam questions, and I didn't prep everything, but the ones that I found really difficult, I basically would write out the question and I would kind of do an essay prep. So I'd write out the definition, the cause of like appreciation, what it meant, and like in very simple language. So a cause would be high interest rates. I literally would write high interest rates, and in arrows I would show the chain of reasoning, but I wouldn't need to explain it in detail, because that's what the exam will require, but not for a revision. Like, you just need the 3 or 4 buzzwords. So for example, an increase, decrease, I would write like, is it to do like, does it affect like UK or the foreigners, more inflow of, like, it's just like key buzzwords to help. And you can also write out the evaluation in like a different color. Like, you don't need to make these pretty, by the way, but if you want to help you like differentiate if it's like context or evaluation, you can. So I wrote evaluation in a different color. And it's really important to just have like 1 or 2 evaluation points. The examiner does not need 30 evaluation points. If you can think of 30, that is crazy, because I don't know how, but you do not need them. You only need maximum 3, but like 2 detailed ones is more than enough. And then you can also write out the effects, but just keeping it really simple. And you can also like highlight key things. So if I needed to, like in economics, know key stats, like here I needed to know like the income UK threshold for tax, I think. I would literally write it out, highlight it, and keep it very basic. And you can also use it to write definitions as well, but again, don't write every definition. Like if you know a definition, you won't need to write everything. So I would get confused between like the different trading blocks and econ, so I would just write out the 3 definitions and that is it, and maybe an example. And you can also use it as a way to separate content out. So with A-levels and GCSEs, you might have a paper that requires you to combine all your knowledge together, and for economics I would have macro and micro, and you'd have to find a way in that third paper to like join it together. Thinking about it now, I genuinely can't believe how hard it was. I would separate it into micro, macro as a table and like have it joint as well, so some answers would work for both, and I'd write out the question at the top. As you can see, like I had 1 point, 2 point, 1 point, 2 point, and then evaluation. That is it. And that way you literally are simplifying all your information down from this folder that you would have probably created from your GCSEs and A-levels into one flashcard that you can then use to test yourself with a whiteboard, post-it notes, anything. That's basically kind of the main thing, breaking down all the complex stuff of economics A-level into just simplified key things that you know. And again, don't write it out for everything, like just write it out the things that you forget. You can use the spec here to work out what you don't know and what you do know, and then you can do spec points according to that. So if you don't understand like maybe a formula or economies or diseconomies of scale, you can just write that at the top and just highlight that you don't know, and then just go over that, and that way you're tracking what you know and what you don't know. So yeah, I really hope this video has helped. Let me know if you have any questions on making flashcards or anything else, and speak to you soon. Bye.